We are tonight's entertainment.
You can't handle the truth.
The fire rises.
Pizza time.
You're a wizard, Harry.
So it begins.
You know how much I sacrifice?
You think that's air you're breathing?
Groovy.
I don't have friends. I got family.
We are Sex People! 1, 2, 3, 4!
Craft Services.
Hey, Trent. Trent? That's right, folks. You're in for a Trentless intro. Unfortunately, I was not able to schedule the two of us together at the same time, and part of that is tied to what I've been eating most recently. You see, my Saturday was going to be spent doing nothing, but a friend off the show got me some work, and it was my first videography work. I recorded some kind of business convention or something. They were selling like skin products there, but then there was also someone talking about how they're a Democratic Assemblywoman. I really am not quite sure what this convention was, but I was paid $200 for the day for like 4 hours of filming. So that's cool. But at the event, I thought that I might get some food, and I was able to squeeze a spring roll. Filming at one of these events is a lot like in Spider-Man 2, when he's taking photos and he's not able to get a drink and he's not able to get food and he's almost never able to take a photo of what he wants to. So something just always goes wrong. That was sort of my experience doing this. Not in that I wasn't able to get what I wanted to get. I was able to take video of what I needed to take videos of, but it was just like everything just like isn't quite right. Like as soon as you see what you're supposed to be taking a video of, you move the camera, and by the time you've got it in focus, the person setting up the speaker you're supposed to be taking a shot of, they've moved on. Anyways, this is all a long-winded way of saying I was able to snag some spring rolls, but I thought that I would maybe be able to have dinner at this place, but I wasn't. And then I was going to go over to friend of the show, Sophia Alexis's, to watch a movie. And on the way, I grabbed some Wendy's, the Ghost Pepper Ranch chicken sandwich, which was muy delicioso. It's also muy delicioso as this intro we've got cooking up. Welcome back to Craft Services, where we talk about the movies. Each week we talk about a film, and hopefully have a crew member of that film to talk with us about their experience working on the picture. This week, we're talking about Saturday Night. We're continuing our conversation with cinematographer Eric Steelberg, very cool guest, a returning guest. We spoke with him about his work on Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, but this time, we're talking about Saturday Night. Very cool guy, and I don't want to take any more of your time. So why don't we just continue this interview? How long was the shoot?
The shoot was short. I believe the shoot was 35 days. We did 2 days in New York for night exteriors, and then the rest on stage. So it was pretty quick. It was definitely the shortest shoot I've done in a very long time. And actually, both of us. I don't know. I think, it's about one of the shortest shoots we'd done. I think the shortest we had ever done was Juno, which was 30 days. I think maybe we did Tully or Young Adult in about 34, 35 as well, maybe even more. So this might have been one of our shortest shoots.
And I'm asking that just because I wonder, because you've been working on sort of bigger budgeted things where there's probably, more of a budget for additional photography or reshoots. Is there more of a sense, or was there more of a sense when making this one of like, ooh, like, I don't know, because you just don't have the money when making it? Does that scare you, or was that just the excitement of it?
It never comes up. It's never a thought. I don't recall it ever being a conversation. I mean, I do know that as soon as we wrapped, they started turning that set down. So like, there's no such thing as a reshoot because there's nothing to shoot.
Sure.
You know, we couldn't go back to New York. The rice rink wasn't there anymore. You know, you could maybe shoot outside on a street in New York at night if you had to, but that's barely in the movie. That takes up about a minute of the movie. So that's not going to be reshot. And everything else was our sets that were built, which didn't exist anymore. And in fact, some parts of the set started being taken down in the last few days of the shoot. So there's nothing we could have really shot anyway. You know, I will say that we did reshoot that long opening shot that I talked about that opens the movie when they come out of the elevator. I think we did that on the first day of the shoot on day one in Atlanta. We did it something like 20 times. It took an entire day to do 20 takes. Very complicated. And that's only after rehearsing it in its entirety the day before. We did an additional 4 or 5 takes, maybe 6 takes on the last day of our shoot, because we realized that what we'd become from day one, from a crew standpoint and an actor standpoint, had really evolved and gotten really tight over the course of those 30 whatever days. So we took another stab at it at the end of the shoot, and I think that's the take that's in the movie. It's one of those last few takes on the last day of the shoot, or second to last, whatever it was. We shot it at the end, reshot it at the end, and it was really tight, and everything was much improved, and that's what's in the movie. And I think it's a really great shot, really well executed.
Is that the shot that took the most takes to nail?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And is it, will you consider it the most difficult shot in the film?
I think so. I mean, there were a lot of challenging shots in the film.
Do anything else come to mind?
I do think that was tough. Look, I think that shot was difficult. I think the shot when they go down the 6th floor and we start the elevator, go down the hallway and end up in the variety show with Milton Berle. Like, that's a very difficult shot because it was very precise. You know, we come out of the elevator, we're weaving through people in a hallway. We go into this, we change direction. We go into this stage, we go straight ahead, and then we whip pan right onto Milton Berle and his dancers on stage and then push in. But when we whip pan onto it, it's dead center symmetrical, all in camera. Extremely hard to do, particularly when the operator is not at the camera. He's all at a remote controlled station, down the hall on the other side of the set. So, so I just got I always forget about that thing.
No, we all got a kick out of that in real time.
Yeah. Sorry, it's great for the viewers who are audio only and they can't see what's happening. Anyway, so and it was very precise, and then it continues, and then it whips off of Milton Berle, and then it pushes in and follows Marathe, and then it whips off of Milton Berle and then whips onto Lauren. That's all in camera. That's all one shot. So the precision of executing that I cannot convey unless you are in the camera department or you're a camera operator and you're actually doing that kind of thing or trying to do that kind of thing. It's really hard to convey how difficult that sort of thing is. And we did it time and time again because we just had an amazing camera operator and an amazing dolly grip. And everybody was just in sync, and it was just amazing. So those are 2 hard shots. Actually, the shots of the lights falling and crashing was challenging in its own way because we're doing with, special effects and a proximity to the actors. We had safety issues. We had different angles we were trying to cover. We could only do it so many times because we only had so many of those lights that we could destroy and, catch on fire and things like that. There were a lot of difficult shots, but yes, I would say those kind of off the top of my head stand out as the more difficult, more precise ones.
So you talked about, and you can feel it, the anxiety and like the tension that obviously is being woven into the, in the entire movie. And beyond, we're going to move the camera really fast. Can you talk about, as the DP, you'd know better than anyone, like visual choices that communicate like that compression of time, which was executed very well?
I think it was mostly not limited, but I think the thing that conveyed that the best was just the longer shots, realizing that there's multiple things happening at the same time, panning off of one conversation into another. I think those are the things that let you know that there's tension, that time is passing, that we're getting close. Cutting to shots of a clock on a wall, that constant reminder of the Lorne's nephew Neil constantly saying how far away they are from showtime. And again, that's not cinematography, but these are just little things that we had to account for and keep in mind about how they were going to play, because it all matters. Like all these things dictate how you shoot it. So you have to. It's like a very holistic. You got to be thinking about all these things. I mean, that's hard to answer because it's really no one thing. But I would say the camera movement, trying not to cut, all these parallel actions happening and making sure we capture those things was really important.
You talked a little bit about influences, but could you go a little bit more in depth about were there specific movies or, things that influenced you?
Well, it's no secret to our friends that Jason and I love 70s cinema. And there were 3 movies that we talked about a lot. There were 3 movies that Jason and I watched, referenced, and spoke about a lot. Actually, 2 70s, 1 and 80s. And that was Network, a movie called Smile by Michael Ritchie, and After Hours, Scorsese from the mid-80s. And the way that, and they were influential in the way they told their stories, not necessarily the way they looked, but like we looked at like what's their point of view and how they're done. Is they all involve time, keeping track of time in some way, or long shots, in the case of Smile, or parallel action, handheld camera work, like camera movement, like how are they doing this? And not how are they doing it because we wanted to mimic it, but it just like how it relates to the point of view and how it makes you feel. And these movies did that in various ways so well, and they all had contrast to each other tonally, that they were our touchstones for conversations about how we were going to do certain things. Great movies, really, really. And we've talked about these movies before in the past and for other projects, and we talked about them a little bit on Front Runner, but these were our touchstones.
Something I was wondering about, the movie started and it was the dizzying shot out of the elevator, and I was like, it's not a fly on the wall, and it's not like a guy at the party. And I was wondering how you would describe like the role of the camera.
I would say the camera is another character. It's another character unseen in the movie. There's so many people all over the place. It's another person, and we treat it as such. We blocked it like another actor. It's in the middle of groups of actors. We got it as small as we could. We used the smallest dolly we could find. We used the smallest remote head. We shot, the smallest 16 millimeter camera. Everything we took advantage of shooting 16 and the smallness of it to be embedded with the actors. So it feels like you are an actor standing right next to Lorne. You're sitting right next to one of the people in the control room. You're part of the crew in the studio. I mean, it really is supposed to feel that way. It never really steps back and kind of looks from afar. And that's the best way I can describe it.
We always ask sort of what the most challenging part of the shoot was in retrospect, and also in retrospect, if there was a takeaway or like some, big thing, overlaying thing that you took away from this shoot.
Convincing the studio to let us shoot 16 millimeter. Well, to be fair, I guess that's the hardest part of our pre-production.
Is that because they don't like what is the pushback on that? Just that
I think there's a preconceived notion, like you people are afraid of what they don't know or understand.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just not a format that studios shoot, because again, I think there's the idea that 16 is old and it's been around forever, and it's great. They think of old documentaries that they saw in an elementary school in the 80s when they used to bring out the 16 mm projector and show, anti-drug films, from the 70s and 80s to kids. And it's Spinal Tap, and all those kinds of movies that have that kind of gritty lo-fi film look that are handheld and unlit and I think wonderful, but not a studio look. And the studio didn't want to, they didn't want to alienate any kind of audience through the visuals of the movie in a theater. And by the way, I don't blame them. I totally understand that. So that's why we had to shoot camera tests to show them how we actually did want to light it and how we did want to move the camera and how good it actually could look, and that the emulsions of 16mm, the film stocks have gotten so good right alongside the 35 stocks. I mean, you can get the same film emulsions in 35 and 16 that you can in 35, which are stunning. And when we showed them the test, they were actually very surprised. They didn't think that it could actually look clean and polished and it's like something that you would see and go to see in a movie theater. So I'm really happy about that. I feel like we won them over, and they seem very happy with the final product. Yet it still does retain a texture that is really wonderful. That I think the movement of the grain constantly that you notice adds to the anxiety of the movie. So when the camera is still, those few moments when the camera is still, the image is still moving, right? Because of the grain. And I think that's like the grain moving. It's kind of like it's that energy. It's the underlying energy. It's like you're feeling the clock still ticking, when you're seeing the grain move. So yeah, I mean, again, that was a big thing in our prep. I don't really know what the hardest part was. I mean, if I think, I know you're maybe expecting some sort of a technical answer, and I don't think there was anything technically difficult. I mean, the hardest thing on set technically was probably the camera operator and the dolly grip nailing their shots. Wasn't directly me, because Jason and I were just saying this is what we want to do, and they had to figure it out. That was technically the hardest thing, but that wasn't as much on me as it was on them trying to figure out how to execute it, and them being determined to execute it. Even times when we saw them struggling, we'd say, okay, maybe we need to bail on this. It's not working. They said, no, let us try it. Like we've gotten this far, let us try it. It even happened on the big long shot. We weren't getting it. We spent all day that first day trying to get that long shot. It wasn't working. Either the camera would mess up, or an actor wouldn't hit the mark, or somebody was in the wrong position. And you just, you do 15, 20 takes and it's not happening. You're like, oh my God, what have we done? We've committed ourselves to something that's just not going to happen. And, we said, well, we've come this far. Let's just keep trying. We asked everybody, like, should we keep trying? Or everybody's like, no, let's go for it. Because they knew if we did it, the celebration and the feeling was going to be good. And we were so close, but we just couldn't, we got up to 85, 90%, just couldn't nail that last 10% of the shot to get it perfect. And then we finally did. And we just kind of looked at each other like, oh my God, I think we got it. Yeah. Okay, great. We got one. Let's try it again. Let's see if now we got greedy. Let's see if we can improve it. I think for me is just making sure on set during the shoot that we're staying true to the vision that Jason and I had set for the film, and that we didn't stray from it, that we came up with these ideas with a real clear head and prep, and that we really needed to stick to our methodology and the visual grammar that we had set out to do, and not stray too far from it, unless we were, legitimately inspired by something, on the shoot day. But, we did a very good job of, I think, creating the tone we wanted and the way we wanted to shoot the movie, and just sticking to that. Because it is easy to see something or come up with an idea and want to go do the shiny, the bright shiny object you just saw, or the cool idea you just came up with. But as cool as that might be, or as much as you might like that in the moment, it might not fit into the overall, right? And you've got to look at the overall big picture. We got to keep, make sure that's hey, that's really cool, but does it take us out of the point of view that we've established and already shot in the rest of the movie? And sometimes it did, and you'd have to pull back. And that's the hardest thing, is staying true to the vision you've set out to do, I think.
The movie is basically, it's, as you said, it's the 90 minutes before the first performance for anyone who doesn't, or the first live taping for anyone who doesn't know. And then it's like the taping itself is recorded history and it's out there. And for people, and it's a blessing that you're doing the dress rehearsal, or not the dress rehearsal, but something before, so it can be a little different. But all to say, in like the moments where you are recreating the cold open, how meticulous is it of like, okay, his hand was here. Oh no, and it has to be like the exactness of it versus like it feels right, and we're shooting it.
Not meticulous at all. In fact, we did not set out to copy. Again, like the accuracy of what you see isn't as important as the accuracy to how it felt. Yes, we have to recreate it to an extent so people believe the story we're telling, but it's not about matching and making a facsimile of all those things that happened that night. You know, if the actors make the choice to move or speak or look in the ways that their actors they are portraying did, that's I mean, that's up to them and between them and Jason. But no, I don't think anybody set out to do that. It's all an interpretation of that. Like everything you see is an interpretation, but the way it feels, hopefully, is accurate to all the stories that Jason and Gil heard of how it felt that night. I mean, that was I just can't convey enough. Like the movie is more about how it felt than how it looked.
And you know, at near the end of the movie, I won't spoil it, but Lauren explaining what the show is, sort of you saying it's hard to explain, but it's like you know it when you see it, or it's just the energy of trying to recapture something.
Yeah, that's true. That's absolutely true, and like, it's exactly what we're trying to do, you know, in telling the story. You know, it's hard to explain, but there was an energy, there was a tension, there was a feel, there was a nervousness, there was a hopefulness and an optimism, you know, with some like underlying negativity and doubt too. And you know, those are all things that you know were really important to try to convey.
So as we sort of start to wrap up, is there anything you're working on that you can talk about or that you've got in the pipeline at all?
There is nothing that I can talk about that is in the pipeline.
Cool. Trent, you ready to give a big kahuna?
But we can talk about that in a couple years.
Exciting. We look forward to it. You'll be our first
third time guest.
Third time guest. Parth, were you flirting with the idea of it being time for the Big Kahuna final question?
Pat, we're beyond flirt, I'd say.
Yes, I remember.
So the Big Kahuna final question, you may be different, but the Big Kahuna final question remains the same. And that is what the last great film you watched was. And it can't just be good, it has to be great.
I should have been better prepared for this. Okay, you know what? I had to. I didn't have to. I was asked to watch the original Alien.
Oh.
And I hadn't seen that in maybe about 10 years. Unbelievable film. Unbelievable. And actually, I should have watched that for SNL just for tension.
Claustrophobia.
The claustrophobia, the tension in that movie is spectacular, and you barely see the alien, and the way the economy of shooting in that movie, the framing, the close-ups, the most beautiful close-ups, the way they frame the close-ups in the movie is absolutely spectacular. Fantastic lighting way ahead of its time. Just spectacular. Great movie.
Less is more with monster movies sometimes.
Yeah.
Did you check Alien Romulus out?
I have not seen it.
That can be now we'll be the people we're asking you. Now you'll be like on your next podcast, you'll be like, someone asked me to watch Alien Romulus, and we'll be the people who asked you. You had to.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? Can I add a
please,
a runner-up?
Yeah.
There's a Netflix movie called Athena.
Oh wow! On the topic of one takes,
one takes. So that was something that I watched before that we watched, not together. We watched it individually, but we watched it not right before we shot, but back when we were talking about the single shot idea. So this would have been probably last fall. We looked at that, and again, spectacular execution and a really, really good movie.
So
Really good.
quick, super last question. So on like take 20 of the elevator shot, when you're, having a really hard time getting this 3 to 4 minute long take, at any point in the back of your mind where you're like, well, thank fucking God we don't have to do this for an hour and a half. Because that's how I would feel.
I didn't, it never crossed my mind because that shot was so hard. I didn't even have to say thank God because I knew there was no way I had to even justify the fact that we weren't doing it or acknowledge the fact that we weren't doing it because of the efforts and planning that it took just to get that 4-minute take. But Jason did look at me at one point and be like, remember when we wanted to do the whole movie this way? I was like, yep, I do.
Cool. I knew there had to be a moment like that. Parth, you mind if I bring us out?
Please.
Thanks so much to our returning guest, cinematographer Eric Steelberg, who's worked on such cool films like 500 Days of Summer, Juno, Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, and our film for this week, Saturday Night, which you should see at your local theater on a big screen if you can. Thanks so much for being here.
Thanks, guys. Good seeing you again.
Whoa. What an interview, huh? Yeah, I thought that was pretty good. I wish Trent was here to give me some banter to play off of, but it's hard to be an audience of one right now. Thank you so much to Eric Steelberg for coming back on the show. Hopefully we can have him on for a third time. He was a very cool guy, and we're really lucky to have him. Next week, we've got an interview cooking up, but every time that I say what it is before we've actually recorded the interview, something has gone wrong. So not to leave you guys in suspense, but I'm not going to tell you what we have cooking up for next week. But let me tell you, it's going to be fucking cool. It's I think you guys will like it. In the meantime, you can listen to any of our episodes on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Pandora, wherever you get your podcasts, really. And you can catch us on social media on Instagram and Twitter. We'll post updates every time a new episode is out. I think that's all I have to say now. So thanks for listening, guys. Bye.